You associate poverty with loss, the loss of comfort, power, or dignity. To be poor, you think, is to be diminished, to depend on others, to stand outside the circle of control. So you spend life defending against lack, collecting what keeps you safe. Yet Abdul Al Qadar al-Jilani reversed this assumption. He said, true poverty is not the absence of means, but the absence of illusion. It is the condition in which nothing hides the real, when ownership, pride, and claim all dissolve. What if what you call wealth is only a structure protecting fear? What if what you call poverty is freedom from that protection? He asked, when you own nothing, what remains that can be taken from you? You build your life around the idea of possession, not only of things, but of time, opinions, even people. Ownership feels like proof that you exist. Yet everything you claim must be maintained, and everything maintained demands fear. Abdul Al Qadar observed that the one who guards what he owns becomes the servant of his own guard. Possession enslaves more subtly than deprivation. What you defend defines your limits. When you lose something and feel as if a part of you is gone, was that part truly yours or merely borrowed? If peace depends on holding, how can it survive the law of change? For Abdul Al Qadar, poverty, faqr, is the unveiling of truth, not the reduction of means. It is what remains when the false center collapses. The seeker discovers that what he called self-reliance was only forgetfulness of dependence. When supports fall, he sees that the power he credited to himself was never his own. In that moment, what seemed like ruin becomes revelation. Poverty exposes the constant generosity of existence itself, a generosity too vast to be owned. When you can no longer claim anything, you begin to see that everything is already given. You call yourself responsible. You plan, prepare, and secure. But beneath this reasonableness lies anxiety, the fear that without control, you will not survive. Abdul Al Qadar called this hidden dependence, the subtle worship of cause instead of the one who creates causes. You think reliance on means is prudence, yet it often conceals the refusal to trust what sustains means themselves. The question he left is simple and severe. If your sense of safety disappears with circumstance, did you ever know the source of safety? Is faith real when it depends on predictable outcomes? Abdul Al Qadar taught that no created being owns itself. Every form is sustained from moment to moment by the will that calls it into being. To say mine is to forget the continuous act of giving that allows possession even to appear. When the seeker realizes this, he no longer claims independence. He says, I have nothing because nothing ever belonged to me. This confession is not despair, but awakening, the end of a false equation between control and existence. What belongs to the infinite cannot lack, and what is truly God's cannot be lost. So where then is poverty? You fear the loss of what defines you, position, success, even meaning. Without them, you feel invisible. Yet Abdul Al Qadar taught that emptiness is not erasure but the removal of interference. What you call emptiness is the first space where truth can appear. To be stripped of what you thought essential is to be revealed to yourself without disguise. Poverty confronts you with a question. If identity survives only through possession, then what are you when you no longer need to own yourself? The fear of emptiness hides the fear of seeing clearly. Poverty begins as loss, but matures as trust. The seeker learns that without external support, he is not abandoned, only returned to the source, but never failed him. Abdul Al Qadar called this the discipline of surrender. It is not resignation, but insight. The recognition that control was always secondary to reality's deeper order. Trust is not believing that things will work as you wish. It is knowing that existence itself is not against you. The question shifts from what will I live on to what lives through me. In that shift, anxiety weakens when the idea of ownership fades. The meaning of wealth changes. You no longer measure richness by increase, but by independence from increase. Abdul Al Qadar described this as contentment without object, the awareness that fulfillment does not depend on circumstance. To be rich is not to have much, but to need little. Every desire now reveals its opposite, the peace that was obscured by wanting. What if poverty is not lack, but the end of needing the world to confirm your being? To the ordinary mind, poverty seems weakness. To Abdul Al Qadar, it was the highest strength. Nothing can be taken from one who claims nothing. Nothing can disturb one who rests in the real. This is the paradox of spiritual invincibility. Surrender becomes protection. The world's threats lose meaning because they can reach only what you once imagined was yours. He said, "The poor one owns nothing, but possesses the truth of everything." When you no longer need to prove existence, existence begins to reveal its own certainty through you. You notice a quiet stability where struggle used to be. You no longer argue for what should remain or what should end. You see that contentment is not satisfaction, but stillness, the point where wanting ceases because being itself is sufficient. Abdul Al Qadar called this Gina, the richness of needing nothing but the real. Poverty and wealth converge. One shows the other's truth. You do not escape the world. You see it differently. When nothing is missing, gain and loss lose their language in the end. Poverty was not about deprivation, and wealth was not about possession. Both were names for a single transformation, the passage from illusion to clarity. Abdul Al Qadar's secret way reveals that to stand empty before the real is to discover fullness that no form can contain. The seeker sees that all along, the fear of losing was the fear of awakening. When ownership ends, gratitude begins, because what remains is not yours. It is you, a sustained being. You began by fearing lack. You end by realizing there was never lack, only the illusion of ownership. Poverty makes you rich because it returns you to what never required possession to exist.